for a while, I'd been trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to talk about. Today, in the different sessions, there were different technological specifics that were covered and things like that. But what I really want to focus on today is kind of the DNA of what makes all these things work. So as an ex-scientist, I'm always really interested in what are the key components that make things work well. So when it comes to like life, for example, living organisms, DNA is really important. But as a human being, there's 3 things in our body that are really important in order for us to continue living. That's DNA, RNA, and proteins. The summary of that, what it really means is that you need DNA, which makes RNA, and RNA makes proteins. And believe it or not, IoT is not too different. Because in IoT I feel is very dependent on 3 things as well. It's really dependent on people, places, and things when we're talking about the future of things. So basically, to simplify that, basically in IoT you need people because they're the fundamental foundation of IoT, and that's something that I don't want us to forget about. And people, they do different things, whether they're driving, whether they're at home, whatever it is that they're doing. And then in order for these solutions to really work, they really must make people's lives easier. So that's really what I want to focus on today, are the different solutions that are out there, and what is it that you can do as practitioners out there or creators to help make people's lives easier. So this is my little DNA simulation here, which really, I really use the term IOPPT because once again, it's people, places, and things. So in order to be pretty comprehensive today, I want to touch on a few things. I want to talk about the market. What's the value proposition for you as an individual working in the industry or your company? The very important thing of leadership, how leadership is changing, creating demand. When you're creating these products, it's very important for the demand to be there because you can't just have great technology and no one knows about it. You have to create demand for them. Customers, very, very important. The SAVE model, which is the new model which is being used when people are talking about technology solutions. And last but not least, some various products and services that are out there right now. So the market, the numbers are all over the place. Some people say 26 billion, some people say 33 billion. Cisco predicts 50 billion by 2020. So obviously the opportunity is there. Everyone's making predictions. It's a hot topic. Yeah, right? So according to Strategy Analytics, they say maybe 4 connected devices will be connected to individuals by 2020. As you can see, IoT is really huge. Wearables, they're covering smart home, TVs, PCs, etc. Even Deutsche Telekom, they have their Internet of Things, their end-to-end. So they say it's about over 8 billion with 190 billion total market value by 2018. Huge, the numbers are huge. So what's the value proposition for you as an organization? Gartner predicts that it's going to be $1.9 trillion across a number of different sectors by 2020. IDC, they say approximately 8.9 trillion. So as you can see, numbers are everywhere. People are predicting. There's no consistency. But still, most importantly, please don't forget the people because your customers are the center and should be the center and the most important thing when you're doing this. Now, cellular, there's a huge opportunity for cellular companies because they already have a global reach. The ecosystems are already in place. But most importantly, they have the networks that are there and already the diversity that's really important, the multinational automated connectivity management systems that are very important for these things to work. So what are some of the pros? Almost everything in the future is going to be connected in some way or have some type of technology because due to the lowering cost of technology, it's really cheap to basically incorporate technology into things. Basically, IoT solutions, they help you perform tasks more reliability as well as more efficiently than you were before. And then also there enables basically engagement between commerce as well as manufacturing activities. So what's the meaning of all this? Times are changing. Now everything can be identified. There's different onboard computing mechanisms. Network connectivity, but most importantly, when all this stuff is happening, diversity really does matter right now. And when I talk about diversity, what you're seeing is there's all these different intersections in which IoT is like entering. I mean, it's home, it's wearables, it's even farming, it's healthcare. Everything that we do in day-to-day life, everybody's trying to get a piece of the game and some skin in the game, actually. So look at all these different, once again, we covered it. Everything is being connected. Everybody's like putting money in their organizations to make sure, look at this busy chart. All these people, you can't even see it, there's so many people here. So many companies getting involved in this. So with all this being said though, it's really, really important more than ever for companies to look at the teams that they're building and to not hire the same way that they've hired in the past, because when you have all these things that are connected, it's really important for you to have diverse teams working on these solutions. Hybrid teams are going to be very important. So out with the old and in with the new way of hiring. So there's tons of jobs. IoT basically is basically paving the way for extensive growth and development in the IoT sectors. So it's really important. Talk about an important section in your company. It's going to be human resources. I don't want you guys to have the same human resources people that are trying to identify new talent for the future. You need to diversify those people. You need to have human resource professionals in your organization that know how to source global talent, that basically maybe have worked in those areas or different areas themselves, because in the future you're going to need a different type of team. I've worked both in corporate environments and in startup environments. I worked for Procter & Gamble, Eli Lilly, Amgen, and actually before I started consulting and helping large corporations incorporate innovation, I worked for a startup company and I helped them form an alliance with a big corporate entity, and I'm telling you, it takes different types of people to make these solutions work, okay? I mean, you need employees that have technical skills as well as business skills and very creative backgrounds. And actually in the future, the best person for some of these opportunities are people that have both skills. Me, for example, I'm like a cellular biologist, pre-med, science scholar, MBA in strategy, global markets, communications, but I also minored in fine arts, so I'm also a writer and I paint. And I must tell you that all of these skills have proven very, very successful in today's time as things are changing. So cross-functional teams are very, very important. And generalists as well as specialists are also going to be important for the future. So I can't stress people, 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 people. Cybersecurity professionals are in high demand, and most importantly, it's really important for you guys to kind of open up your skill and scope and seek out also women who basically can play a role in your organizations. I'm not talking about women who are just in your PR and communications department. There are tons of women who are have science degrees, who are engineers, who basically are really good leaders. Because there have been studies that basically have shown you have like organizations that are in the top 20% of financial performance and the top, and actually the bottom 20%. And actually companies who have women in their higher executive positions, they actually perform higher. So, I mean, even if you have to go find someone who is part of like a women in tech organization or, I don't know, but it's really important for people and teams and companies to use their social networks to help get new people and new blood into your organizations in order to make them successful in the future. Designers are very, very important. It's not that good anymore to just come up with a great product that works. It needs to look good. There's a lot of competition out there, so I say keep calm and make sure you design on. Because I'm telling you, designers are essential for the success of technology and wearables and things. IoT devices come in a whole range in different wides and forms, and also it's really important not just for usability, but inter-usability must be considered because of the different screens and things like that. So sales and communications teams are really important. I mentor and advise a lot of companies, and I'm telling you, when these new products are coming to market, it's amazing how late they incorporate the communications, marketing, and sales teams. This is something that needs to happen at the very beginning, because these key functions can help even the designers and the engineers. They need to know, everybody needs to know a little bit of what's going on with these products when they're being built. And if you have a great product and no one knows about it, it doesn't matter. So you really need to make sure that your sales and communication professionals are involved earlier, because the new teams and the companies of the future, it's a hybrid model with people coming from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking. They're going to help you bring these products to market and to help them be successful. So it's really important to create demand, as I mentioned before, because in order for customers to adopt these products that you're bringing, it's very important for there to be integration, for there to be transformation, as well as engagement. And as Charles Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survives out there or the most intelligent, but the one that's most responsive to change. These things are forcing change that people never had thought of before. So you definitely need those professionals who basically have thought they're really good with paperwork and financial processes and things like that, but you also need people who can think really fast on their feet. Okay, people who aren't just thinking that they can take a spreadsheet and predict that's going to happen, because I'm going to tell you things are changing rapidly and they're changing all the time. So you need people who can think rapidly and move fast on their feet. And with these transformations, there's a couple of transformations that we've seen in the wearable tech. I focus as well on wearable technologies. So when Nike Fuel Band first came out, they basically were focused on like the heavy athletes, but they realized that they needed to change their business model a little bit and move to more mainstream, because they weren't selling as much as a product as they thought they would. Smartwatches, they're basically still trying to find what it is that they're trying to do. And as the audience, response to audience is more demanding, smartwatches actually have the ability to surpass fitness trackers in the future. And so, but in order for these transformations to happen, it's really important to have committed leadership, targeted communications, and also make sure that your employees have incentives in order for these transformations to happen within your company. One of the biggest mistakes that business owners and executives make is they try to do everything alone. They're like, we have this industry, we don't need to work with any other company. You're absolutely wrong. In today's time, we have startups, we have people who can move fast. They don't have to worry about the red tape and all the protocols. It's very important for people to partner in today's time and leverage different strategic partners, because seamless solutions are going to be needed for these IoT things. Because in order to ensure end-to-end solutions, IoT architectures basically require seamless solutions across 6 of the following areas. I think it's device domain, local network domains, wide area network domains, service enablement domains, applications, and enterprise system domains. These are the different solutions that are going to be needed for these things to work. And why is it important to partner? It's very important from a technical as well as a commercial standpoint, because as enterprises have to get more and more in the future into designing things and developing and implementing solutions, it's very important for there to be a diversity between these, and also since there's diversity between all these different devices and the way that people use it, things are becoming very complicated. So strategic partners are really going to help you get where you need to go faster. So the first step to building a partnership is you need to make sure that you're forming partnerships with people that can help you acquire more customers, maybe help you with your costs, as well as give you a competitive advantage. So make sure you do your research and team up with the right partners, because there's 4 different types of strategic partnerships basically. You have marketing partners, there's financial partners, technology partners, and basically strategic supplier partnerships, and these are really important as well. Today, I went to the ERICSSON talk and they were talking about some of the latest technology, but here's an example of a partnership that ERICSSON has formed basically, and they formed this EU-funded research project called the IoT Initiative. So they work with different industry professionals as well as academia, and their objective is to make sure that they increase the benefits and the possibilities of the Internet of Things, and also identify ways to tackle challenges that may come up in the future. One of my favorite partnerships / acquisitions that recently happened is actually between a huge conglomerate and then a startup company, Runtastic and Adidas. How many of you heard about this $240 million acquisition? This is a beautiful thing. Runtastic was a startup company out of Vienna. I actually know that Christian and Florian pretty well. And they started their app company in 2009. And all they wanted to do was make mobile apps for running to make people's lives easier. They launched their wearable in 2014. They had 85 million downloads between 2009 and 2015, and they had a newsletter of 20 million people. Adidas said, you know what? We've had products for a really long time, but we do not have 85 million people on any app that we have. This was a beautiful, beautiful partnership and acquisition, and this can happen to any one of you guys here in this room if you have a startup, or if you are in a large organization. I mean, you know the way to move fast is basically to potentially seek out some of these startup companies. So what Florian said is, he says, with our new partner, we found the perfect match when it comes to taking our business to the next level and serving our community in better and smarter ways. So once again, the customer came first. So now I'm going to move a little bit and talk about some of the products and services that are out there. Key technologies we heard actually from the Ericsson talk too. There's cloud technology, security, wireless, and I added wearable systems as well as e-textiles because I also focus on wearables specifically as well. So Ericsson, they mentioned LTE solutions of 5G and then their open source solution, Calvin. Microsoft, they've come up with the Azure IoT suite, which basically is a cloud-based service that helps address common Internet of Things scenarios and helps you analyze your data and transform your business. Philips recently, actually last week, they just released a service that basically supports Apple's HomeKit. And so if you're an iOS user, the HomeKit basically could change the way that you use connected objects altogether because you can utilize your Siri in order to control all your connected devices. Intel, this is one of my favorites. They have this new module based on the Quark SE, and it's specifically for wearables. It's as small as a little button. It's Bluetooth-enabled low-energy radio. And e-textiles are huge. Google just launched a product called Project Jacquard where they're basically incorporating like a circuitry into fabric. So this is going to basically change fashion, industrial, and commercial applications in the future. This is great as well. Misfit and Swarovski crystal. This is a great one because a lot of the wearables that are out there, if you look at the Oculus Rift and some of the wristbands, they're not that great. But as a female that's a techie, I like sparkles. My name's Jewell Sparks too, so you know I really like sparkles. But they basically have 9 different accessories for this. It's a fitness and a sleep tracker. The price range is not that bad, and it's solar powered. You never need a battery. That's pretty cool. So most importantly, I just want to share that, you know, customers really don't care what your initiatives are in your companies. They really just want to know what it is that you're creating to make their lives easier. What is the how can they use it, and why do they need to use your products? Because life really, as a company, it's not about like chasing cereal. You need to find your own brand purpose. Right now, there's a lot of chasing cereal going on out there. Companies are saying, oh, so-and-so's in the IoT space, I want to get in there too. But most importantly, when you decide to get in this space, from the very beginning, identify what your goal is and what your purpose is so you can own the market. Just don't do it because someone else is doing it. So brand identity is very important. If you already have a strong brand, use that as something that you can leapfrog and just jump in the forefront and beat out some of the other competition that's there. Because if you have a strong brand, that's what customers identify with. One of my favorite business models is the FOG model, because this is really important because it kind of speaks to what is important when you're introducing new products to market when it comes from a customer perspective. Because in order to change behavior, that's what all this IoT stuff is doing. It is changing people's behavior. People need to be motivated to use those solutions. They need to be able to use the solution. And there needs to be something, an aha moment that goes off in their head that says, I need this. I need to use this. I need to figure out how to use this product. Because when people face a behavior that is not routine, it's not that simple. And if something isn't simple, you may have a hard time getting some traction. So create things that people want to share and tell others about, because the customer is the most important. This is one of my favorite cartoons. After 15 years, they finally figured out what the teenagers of the 90s like. Well, folks, we don't have 15 years in today's time. Things are moving really fast, and with the Internet of Things, we really don't have 15 years. So it's really important for you to utilize a lot of the different channels that are out there to find out what customers want. When I used to work in the research lab, I remember at Syntex in Japan, I mean, it only took us 4 years to isolate a gene, but I'm telling you, in drug discovery, it takes sometimes 15 years. If you take 15 years to put something out in today's time, by the time it hits the market, nobody needs it. Nobody needs it. So once again, know your customer. Because if you create quality products, if you can help your customers become more efficient and provide great service, and if you're reliable, your customers will love you. So we're going to talk a little bit about the customers in the wearable market. So 54% of women versus 46% of men own fitness trackers. And 71% of men own smartwatches versus 29% of women. So if you were going to launch a wearable, a connected wearable, for example, these are probably good numbers to know. But interesting enough, although 71% of men own smartwatches in the US, 50% of the current US population, they don't even wear watches. So that's really important information if you're thinking about putting a watch on the market. Now, Gartner predicts by 2017, 30% of smart wearables, you won't even be able to see them. You just will not be able to see them. They'll become a part of like your daily clothing. And they did a survey, this was, I think it was from Gartner as well. 78.9% of people said that if they bought a wearable device, they probably would take another 2 to 4 years before upgrading it. This is good information to know, because if I'm about to put out another product on the market, my product better be really good in order for this person who just bought something to say they want to buy mine as well. Now, the prime reason right now for people to use wearables is for fitness. People are very fitness conscious. And then some of them want to improve training. And you see that the price point is usually between $100 and $199. That's like the highest, how much that people are willing to spend. That's the highest percentage there. We're going to talk a little bit about home automation connectivity services, because according to NPD Group, which is a marketing retail group, they conducted this automation home study amongst Canadian consumers, and 80% of the consumers were aware of the products, but only 16% ended up owning these products. That's important to know too. And then also familiarity with these products is strongest amongst males and younger consumers 18 to 34. So that means if you're going to put out something in the home automation, you may want to see what the different cultures are, countries, markets, and see what people like. And then maybe you can shift kind of like your marketing pitch, whatever you need to do in order to make sure you get some traction. Because half of these early adopters are under 45. So we're all, chasing, putting money in things. Now we have to think about who it is that we're marketing to. Now, 52% of these automated things are basically owned by people who make $70,000 and less. And I guess they're owned because there's different factors. There's emotional versus functional, financial, and word of mouth factors in terms of why people buy stuff. So usually with fitness products, it's both a physical and an emotional factor that influences their patterns. Security products, it's emotional versus functional, why they buy them. Energy management, it's usually cost. And never, ever, ever, ever underestimate word of mouth. Word of mouth is becoming more important than ever now that social media exists. If you're not using social media or your customers, your early adopters to sell your product, you're not doing something right, because customers can make or break you. And TV and radio ads are very important too. So you can't leave this out the process anymore. You can't just sit in your boardroom, your war room at the company and say, this is what we're going to put out without getting some feedback. That's probably not a good investment. So most importantly, you got to think about the save model. This is the new model. What are you doing to save your customers? So instead of just thinking about the products that you're putting out, what are the solutions that you're coming up with for your customers? How are they going to assess this? Is it going to be mobile phone, web? How are they going to assess this product? What's the value proposition? This is huge. and most importantly, education. I hear everybody talking about how they're investing all this money, but I really don't hear companies talking about what they're doing to educate people on these products and services. I was in a talk earlier today, and one of the things that the customers had to do was make sure that they input information for these systems. How is it that you're going to motivate, and the customer has to pay as well to be a part of the process? How are you going to motivate your customers to do something that they never had to do in the past? So people need to make sure they make an investment in education. As a matter of fact, there's a company, Fitbit. They formed a partnership with a famous designer, Tory Burch. So when I was in Munich, I live in Munich and Berlin. When I was in Munich about a month ago, I wanted to walk into the store to see, if I had to buy the product online or could I buy it in person. I walk in, the security guy, he tells me exactly, he pulls it out, the pieces, and I say, yeah, but I want to know exactly how it works. He sends me upstairs. I go talk to the sales associate. I say, hey, I'm interested in this new technology you guys have. They took 15 minutes to find it because they had it in some drawer. And then when they found it, I said, well, how do I use it? They took out the white piece of paper and they said, here you go. Now, you think that's going to help anybody? So I think companies also need to make the investment to make sure that they are training these sales associates, because that could be a lot of money, because that price point is a pretty good price point compared to everything else in that store. So make sure people are trained and start trying to accomplish, start with what you're trying to accomplish and work your way back as a company. That's going to be the best way to do things. If you want to be the best home automated service that you think like 70% of people who buy a home automated service should have, start with that and work backwards and figure out what channels you need to use to get there. Because whatever you create, you must create it with spark. And when I say spark, you better be able to be spontaneous as a team. You better be passionate about it. You better be agile, resourceful, and very knowledgeable. And whatever you do, keep it simple. So many people get all caught up in these complex technical terms. Customers don't care about what the technical components are. They want to know how to use the thing. So if that means you have to get somebody to help translate, that means have your engineers talk with people who aren't engineers in the company. Have them do an exercise where they're all sitting down talking about what they think the product is and what they think it does. So you guys have a succinct message across the brand. Keep it simple. Because the more simple things are, the more effective you can be, and the more effective the brand can be and the product can be. So in summary, IoT presents tremendous opportunities for companies as well as the end user. Create solutions that make people's lives easier. Utilize your designers, business development, and strategic communication folks earlier in the game. Hybrid business structures are a must. Don't keep hiring the same type of people if you want to dominate the market. That's the other thing, these recruiting systems. If someone doesn't have the right terms, they automatically get kicked out of the system. And you know what? I think those people should be looked at a little bit closer, because maybe some of those people can think more on their feet. You don't have to be in an industry for 10 or 15 years anymore. Maybe you can just be a person that can think out the box or put things together. It really is beneficial to have scientists or even like business development people on your team, because they're looking at things from a different perspective. And in today's time, you have to know how to sell and you have to understand the technology. You need to have people who are really balanced. So continue to form strategic partnerships, utilize, yes, I'm sorry, I did a double on this, but keep things simple. The creation of things don't matter if people don't know about them, and education is key, and love what you do. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.